Stewart. Today we're going to be talking about citizenship, SOL 3A. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution defines citizenship as all persons born or naturalized in the United States. Naturalized is a variation of our vocabulary word for the week, which is naturalization. And that is the legal process to obtain citizenship. So anybody who is not born a citizen of the United States can become a citizen of the United States. So let's say you were born in France and you're a French citizen, but you want to become a citizen of the United States. You can go through the naturalization process. And once you've done that, you are termed a naturalized citizen. And subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. What that is referring to is that you are not only a citizen of the United States, but you are also a citizen of whichever of the 50 states you reside in. So, for example, you are from Virginia, so therefore you would be a citizen of Virginia in addition to being a citizen of the United States of America. Now, that is where the 14th Amendment stops defining citizenship. It does go on to redefine the Due Process Clause. The Due Process Clause was first established in the Fifth Amendment. But it was redefined in the 14th Amendment to make sure that states had to follow the Due Process Clause as well. So no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So prior to the 14th Amendment, the Fifth Amendment stated that the national government could not deprive anybody accused of a crime or found guilty of a crime of life, liberty, or property without following these procedures and steps. Some of the procedures and steps include your right to a trial by a jury, your right to a speedy trial. Those are all your due process rights. Now, the 14th Amendment basically extended the Due Process Clause to the state and local government, and it said, hey, states, you cannot deprive citizens of life, liberty, or property without following these steps that we defined in the Fifth Amendment. So you need to make sure that you are giving your citizens a speedy trial, a right to a trial by a jury of their peers, before you take away their liberty and throw them in jail for the rest of their lives. And part of that was to make sure that the states and the national government were aligned in what rights were given to citizens. So that's that part of the 14th Amendment, which would be considered the Due Process Clause. We'll talk more in depth in another date on. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what a citizen, or what are the ways to become a citizen. So you're either born a citizen or you are naturalized as a citizen. So you're born a citizen if at least one of your parents was a citizen at the time of your birth, or if you were born on U.S. soil. So if one of your parents was a citizen, that means that you might have been born in France while your mom was vacationing in France, and she just so happened to have you early while she was over there. Well, even though you were born in France, you are still a citizen of the United States because your mother was a citizen when she had you. This applies a lot to military children because they are oftentimes born in bases overseas. So you might have been born in Germany and on the naval or the army base over in Germany, and even though you were born on German soil, you would still be considered a citizen because your parents were citizens when you were born. Now, you can also be a citizen if you were born on U.S. soil, and I'm sure that's the way many of us qualify as a citizen. I happen to be born in the great state of Iowa. There's really nothing there. Out in the middle of nowhere, but that was where I was born, and that qualified me as a citizen. Many of you, I'm sure, were born in the great state of Virginia. So you would be qualified as a citizen because you were born on U.S. soil because of being born in the state of Virginia. Now, that qualifies Alaska, Hawaii as well. In addition to being born in one of the 50 states, you might have also have been born on one of the U.S. territories. A territory is just a land that another country owns that is not actually part of that country, but they still own it and control it. So we actually have 5 territories: Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, and the American Samoa Islands. So if you happen to have been born in one of those territories, you may also be a citizen of the United States as well. Now, the other way you can become a citizen is through naturalization. So naturalization is just that process to become a citizen. Here we have a group of people who are taking the oath after they've gone through that naturalization process. We have a picture of Barack Obama as well. I forgot to mention that before. So Barack Obama is one of the famous controversial, I guess you could say, citizens. So when he first started his presidency, there was a lot of controversy over whether or not he would be considered a citizen by birth. But he qualified actually 2 ways. So as a citizen by birth. So he qualified because his mother, who was from Hawaii, was a citizen at the time of his birth. His father was from Kenya, so that's where that controversy kind of came in from. But Barack Obama was born in Hawaii, so therefore he would qualify under the being born on U.S. soil because Hawaii is considered one of the 50 states of the United States. He also qualified because his mom was a citizen. So even though his father was from Kenya, since his mother was a citizen of the United States, he would have qualified even if he would have been born in Kenya. So there really was no controversy surrounding his citizenship at all, but he is one of the popular people that come up when we talk about being born a citizen, either through birth of your parents being citizens or being born on U.S. soil. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the naturalization process. Not everybody can become a citizen. There are laws regarding who can be a citizen, and these laws are actually put into place by Congress. They are our lawmaking body, and the laws can change. In fact, I remember when I was a kid, I had a friend who came from Mexico, and he actually became a citizen when he was underage. So I'm pretty sure that the laws were different at that time. That would have been, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years ago, maybe. Now, currently, the laws are that you have to be at least 18 years old. In addition to being 18 years of age, you also have to have lived in the United States for at least 5 years. If you married a U.S. citizen, you only have to have lived in the United States for 3 years. I have a friend, her name is Edith, and she happened to meet and marry a gentleman named Adam from Canada. He is currently working towards his naturalization process. They actually did the interview recently, and he will take the test. And once he meets his 3-year mark, because he's married to a U.S. citizen, then he can actually go through the rest of the process and take the oath and become a citizen of the United States. So you can kind of work around that 5-year if you happen to marry a U.S. citizen. Otherwise, everybody else has to wait 5 years. Now, you have to exhibit continuous residency. So if, for example, Adam happened to go back to Canada 1.5 years in and he stayed in Canada for like 6 months, let's say, then his 3 years has to start all over again when he returns because he didn't exhibit continuous residency. He wasn't in the United States for all of those 3 years, 3 or 5 years, whatever year, how many ever years you have to do. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go back to Canada and visit. It just means that you can't be there for a prolonged period of time. You also have to have good moral character. So if you happen to be a criminal in your home country, or you committed a crime in the United States, it's very likely that the immigration judge will not approve your application to become a citizen. And that really goes back to the fact that naturalization is supposed to enrich our society. And if we have somebody who commits crimes, then they are actually putting a burden on the citizens of the United States. So if you, for example, commit murder, kidnapping, or a gang member, those are all crimes and things that the customs agents look at and could potentially prohibit you from becoming a citizen of the United States. In addition, you have to be able to read, speak, and write in English. So this pertains to the fact that when you take your test as well as do your interview, you have to be able to read that test in English. You also, when you do the interview, you have to be able to write responses in English. We will actually be doing a simulation on this a little bit later, and you'll get to actually experience what that looks like and what questions are asked and how they ask them to write in English and how they ask them to read in English. It's pretty interesting, to say the least. So read, write, and speak basic English. That doesn't mean that they can't speak their own language in the United States, but in order to be able to pass the naturalization process, they have to be able to at least have some understanding of English to be able to read, speak, and write it. In addition, you have to pass a naturalization test. And in my opinion, a naturalization test is pretty intense. It's pretty hard. You'll also have an opportunity to take that as well when we do the simulation. And you'll get to see exactly how hard it is. The test has a lot of history, American history, laws. It talks about some of the American laws. And it also references some of the requirements to become a citizen. So we'll see if you pass or don't pass. I actually have quite a few students who don't pass because the test is so difficult. Now, once you have taken that test and you've gone through your interview and you show that you have good moral character and that you're loyal to the United States and you know the laws and you know the Constitution and you're 18 years and you've lived here for 5 years, then you get to actually take the oath to become a citizen. And that was the picture that I showed you previously. So in that oath, you actually denounce any citizenship that you have with any other country. So that means that if you happened to have been an immigrant from England, then you would denounce that English citizenship. So you would no longer be a citizen of England or Great Britain. I'm sorry, it's no longer England. So that is really interesting, and I'm very curious actually to see how citizenship works out for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, because when Meghan Markle took her oath to become a citizen of Great Britain when she became the princess or the duchess, she actually denounced her citizenship to the United States. And of course, they are both now living here in California. So Prince Harry could become a citizen through marriage, the marriage of Meghan Markle, if she so happens to still be considered a citizen. However, I don't think that's would be the case because she denounced her citizenship. So it's very possible that both of them are currently working through the naturalization process right now. If anybody wants to look that up and let us know how that's all working out, that would be great. Just send us a text message or a email. So naturalization is important because it creates a diverse society. When I was growing up, they actually considered immigration and naturalization as a melting pot. And they said that all of these cultures coming together melt together and we create like a new culture. Well, we know that's not true. Especially if you go into some of the bigger cities, you see the different cultures evident in certain sections of the city. Now, that's extremely important when you think about it because all those cultures bring different morals and characteristics and different cultural characteristics with them to the table, and those have kind of all been embraced as one in the United States. Like when you think of, for example, France and Italy, you have that certain picture of what those people wear, what those people look like, what they do, what they eat even. And here in the United States, we have so many variations. It's very interesting because you kind of have the entire world wrapped up in one country. So, and that's like, look at our food, for example. You can very easily go out and have Mexican food, Chinese, Japanese, go to a Japanese grill, Mongolian. I mean, there are all kinds of different variations in just food alone that shows how diverse we are as a country. And all of these diverse people coming together have really enriched our everyday lives, and they've enriched it in things outside of just food. We're talking entertainment industry, the science, math, technology, and all of the industries that you can possibly think of. Immigration has touched in some ways. So here we have a picture of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was famous for creating the induction motor. He actually is part of the reason why we have vehicles. Without him, we wouldn't have those vehicles. He also did work in electricity and was the first to create the hydroelectric dams. So he actually created the first hydroelectric factory in the United States. And that allowed us to have cleaner energy. We have Sammy Sosa. He was part of the entertainment industry, obviously. I'm sure many of you have heard of Sammy Sosa. He was a baseball player for the Cubs. He's a 7-time All-Star and MVP player. He was an immigrant. Bob Marley. Many of you, I'm sure, if you have not heard the name Bob Marley, I'd be very surprised. But you've at least probably heard some of his songs like Three Little Birds and Buffalo Soldier. He was actually inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And then, of course, I'm sure many of you know this gentleman, Albert Einstein. He did a lot of work in physics, and without him, there's a lot of stuff concerning space and black holes, and that we wouldn't even know about had he not immigrated to the United States. So immigration really enriches our society and creates a very diverse and enriching society. Now, if you should have any questions about anything today, please don't hesitate to text me or email me, or reach out to one of your peers. Sometimes just having that second person to redefine and redescribe things can help you understand. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today, and I will see you next time.